You're watching Newsroom. The trial of Mark Trollip and Johan Prinsloo in connection with a right-wing plot to kill President Jacob Zuma starts today. They face charges of treason and conspiracy to commit acts of terrorism after plotting to assassinate African National Congress leaders at the Mangaung conference last December. Earlier this year, the two went on a hunger strike at the Grootvlei prison to protest against the alleged dragging out of the case. Well, we are joined by Richard Newton in Bloemfontein. Good morning, Richard, and thanks for joining us.
Morning, Evan.
Richard, just take us back to December 2012 and sort of recap what happened and where we are now.
Well, you'll remember, Eben, that in December 2012, it was the ANC elective conference. The eyes of the country were on Bloemfontein to see how the conference was going to run, what was going to come out of it. We're looking at leaders, who was going to be chosen. And in the middle of all of this, the news came out that there had been this plot to attack leaders and to assassinate the president and senior members at this conference. Now, this was a joint operation by the Hawks, by the crime intelligence unit of the police. There were police from the Northern Cape, the Free State, Limpopo. 7 people were arrested within a matter of days. And as it came into this year, we saw a variety of court cases where eventually 4 people were held to stand trial. We had the hunger strike that you spoke of. One of the accused was referred for psychiatric evaluation, and all charges against one of them were dropped. So that's how we got to 2 at the moment, because the one suspect, Martin Kiwi, who was sent for psychiatric observation, he came back with a report that he was unfit to stand trial. The state opposed this and have sent him again for the second time for psychiatric observation. And that leaves the 2 gentlemen you mentioned, Mark Trollip and Johan Prinsloo. They will now stand trial starting today in Bloemfontein.
These are now the main protagonists, as you say, Mark Trollip and Johan Prinsloo. And just tell us, what sort of proceedings do you expect at the court today?
Well, as you were saying earlier about the hunger strike and the guy saying it was dragging on, we're now getting to the actual start of the trial. There have been the bail applications, there have been the psychiatric evaluations. We've had a number of other issues brought before the court, but now it's time to start the trial. And of course, they'll be facing those charges of treason, conspiracy to commit acts of terrorism, and then various charges relating to weapons and ammunition. This was all based allegedly on a plot called Die Slag van Bloemfontein, or the Battle of Bloemfontein, which would have involved the use of mortars, and it would have been a plan to assassinate the president, senior leaders, and then take over or overthrow the government.
Richard, is there a sense that we are getting more and more of these kinds of incidents popping up on our radar? What does that say about South Africa?
Well, I think if you look at what we've just seen, the end of the decade-long treason trial with the Boeremark, I think that has focused people's attention on these cases that have come up. And of course, now following shortly after the conclusion of the Boeremark trial is this one. So I think it is a lot in the news, but it says we need to be aware at all times that there are varying views and there are varying factions throughout the country that could be plotting the demise. You know, and these are allegations that still have to be proved, but it's something that I suppose we have to be aware of at all times.
And how is this case being received, and these men, how are they being received in Bloemfontein and in the Free State?
Well, I think because this has been, these gentlemen and these accused have only been appearing for various applications, there hasn't really been a sense of what is going on. People haven't really got behind the story. And I think once the trial starts and we start seeing the witnesses coming forward, we start hearing what was meant to happen, what the plan was, I think people will start looking at this and forming opinions and ideas on what should be done and how serious these allegations, obviously treason and conspiracy to commit terrorism, probably the 2 most serious charges you can face.
Absolutely. And what's now, moving on, what's some of the other news coming out of Bloemfontein today, Richard?
Well, I think we all have settled down now, realizing that we just managed to fall out at the last hurdle, as your team did in the Currie Cup. So sporting-wise, we're taking a bit of a break. We still, of course, very happy with the Free State University netball team that did so well, winning the inaugural competition.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're looking ahead now, being a central point in all holiday travel. Holidays are coming up, Bloemfontein, most vehicles pass through here wherever you're going to holiday. So we'll be looking at our roads, we'll be looking at road safety, and looking forward to the festive season.
Are we going to, this year, are we going to keep score on how many people die on the roads again, Richard, or are we going to try and be a bit more positive?
Well, I think what we need to do is to focus on roadworthiness of the roads themselves as well as the vehicles. I don't think we need to keep score. It's not a competition to see which province has the highest death toll. That's very macabre, actually.
Yeah.
But I think we need to come up with a plan where we have a year-long process of looking at driving on the roads and how people react in certain situations. We tend just to focus twice a year on how badly we drive and what we can do about it. We should do that 12 months of the year.
Richard Newton, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us from Bloemfontein. That's Richard Newton with a little update on, of course, the big story there is the trial of Mark Trollip and Johan Prinsloo. They appear in court today on charges of trying to kill President Jacob Zuma and a few other ANC leaders at the Mangaung elective conference that took place in Mangaung.